Well, a very busy day on Capitol Hill with the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of State making the Biden administration's case for more than $100 billion in emergency funding for Ukraine and Israel. Now, at the same time, in another hearing, this chilling message from the director of the FBI.
We assess that the actions of Hamas and its allies will serve as an inspiration, the likes of which we haven't seen since ISIS launched its so-called caliphate several years ago.
Correspondent Joe Khalil is live on Capitol Hill with more. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Kelly. So, yeah, we learned a lot of new and important and disturbing things today at that hearing, and the most important of which you just laid it out there from the director of the FBI, which is that there are currently terrorist organizations around the world that are pointing to what Hamas did in Israel and trying to use it as a recruiting tool, as a way to inspire others to conduct their own terrorist attacks on Americans, specifically in the United States and Americans who are elsewhere around the globe. That's not just a claim that's made by random people. It's the director of the FBI, the Secretary of Homeland Security, and the Director for National Counterterrorism, all telling the United States Senate that this is happening. In fact, they've already talked about how specifically ISIS and al-Qaeda elements are doing the same. And those two terrorist organizations are not exactly ideologically aligned with Hamas, yet still they are using what Hamas has done to try to inspire and instigate other acts of terrorism. So that obviously is a serious concern. We talked to Senator Langford about this not so long after he asked those three questions as well in that hearing. And here's what he told us.
We literally have people that are here in the United States that are listening to those messages, and they're interested. How many of those have come across the border in the last 3 years? In the now 8 million people that have crossed the border, how many that are already here? How many people came in other channels or just online and they're being inspired by that because they believe in those same things? We don't know. But there is a growing threat that we have a rising number of Americans that will be influenced by people overseas saying it's time to attack America.
And Kelly, there were some questions directed to the Homeland Security Secretary about the border specifically. There was some back and forth as to what his agency is doing to try to secure the border. But the vast majority of this hearing, the focus really was on Hamas and potential terror activity in the United States. And that doesn't always mean outside terrorist groups either. That also means domestic terrorism. So they're looking at anti-Semitism. They're looking at potential threats and attacks to people who are Jewish and who are Muslim. They referenced that 6-year-old boy who was murdered in Chicago, that Muslim Palestinian-American young boy. They also talked about the rise in anti-Semitic threats. And in fact, they said that while 2.4% of the population is Jewish, more than 60% of the threats and hate crimes that are directed toward people for their religion are directed toward people of the Jewish faith. So those numbers there, Kelly, are really alarming. And obviously the FBI, Homeland Security, trying to get out front on many of those threats and make sure that they just remain threats and not action.
Yeah, a lot to keep eyes on there. All right, Joe Khalil on Capitol Hill. Joe, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.